many years before the time of man, the plant-based life forms of Earth developed a connection with one another that would come to be known as the Green. This connection took the form of a mystical realm that connects all minds within the botanical life on Earth and beyond. The seeds of the Parliament of Trees were first planted by a time-traveling Alec Holland that would grow to be the founders of the Parliament of Trees, Yggdrasil, Turu, and Am. Their minds would forever live in the Green, where they would become guardians of all plant life on Earth. When a being dies in flames and merges with this world itself, a new plant elemental would be born, working as a guardian. These elementals would care for the plant life on Earth throughout history, until, as they grew older and their time had passed, they too would join the Parliament within the Green. Though these elementals would still hold a physical presence on Earth, they looked over and helped any current elemental entirely through their powers in the Green, while their bodies lay hidden, inactive and immobile on the real world. Though the Parliament prefers peace and diplomacy, they have come into conflict with other parliaments and mankind itself. These conflicts have ranged through many possible timelines and universes, including battles against certain offshoots of the Green and the Parliament of Trees. The Green and the Parliament themselves aren't immune to the effects of corruption either, and were largely lost on Earth before the New 52 for this very reason. On the current Earth, the Green and the Parliament are alive and well, though have only survived certain conflicts thanks to the efforts of their current elemental, the Swamp Thing, once a man named Alec Holland. Alex Olson was another such Swamp Thing, while others have power and association with the Green, such as Black Orchid, Poison Ivy, and the Earth 2 version of Alan Scott. These individuals are rare, as the Green's power and depth of mind can be overwhelming to most beings who do not connect with this domain naturally. Just as the Parliament of Trees looks over the world of plants, the Parliament of Limbs watches over all animal life and beings of flesh. They look over the red, a primordial force that exists in balance with the Green. As the Swamp Thing is an avatar of the Green, the red too has a representative on Earth, in the form of Animal Man, a hero able to take on aspects and abilities of animals at will by altering his body. The current Animal Man is Buddy Baker, while his daughter Maxine, and others such as the superheroes Beast Boy and Vixen, are also connected to this powerful energy. Like the Green, the red was nearly threatened by another primordial force, only saved by the combined efforts of Swamp Thing and Animal Man. That force nearly consumed all life on Earth, and would have left nothing but death and decay behind. It is the Rot, where the red looks over animal life, and the Green watches over the realm of plants. It is the black that embodies death, watched over by the Parliament of Decay. The Rot itself and those who embody its power are often sinister in appearance, but it is not inherently an evil force. Death is a natural part of life, meant to exist in balance with the two parliaments of life. This force flourishes in the presence of decay and rot, and like the Green and the red, has a physical presence on Earth as well as a spiritual realm. This delicate balance was changed when a man named Anton Arcane managed to become the avatar of the Black. He co-opted the Rot for himself and began to spread it all over Earth, eventually consuming all life on the planet, save for small holdouts protected by the Red and the Green. Swamp Thing and Animal Man, who were trapped by Anton during this time, managed to stop this from ever actually happening, and ultimately Anton's relative, Abigail Arcane, was made the new avatar of Death. Swamp Thing has a long-standing and complicated relationship with this woman, and the two are often seen in company of one another, with the Rot having been brought back into balance with the Red and the Green. Across the multiverse and throughout DC history, many other parliaments have existed and look over other domains and aspects of life. The Clear, also known as the Blue, looks over aquatic life, and is connected to beings such as Aquaman, who are often given control over water and the ability to communicate with marine life. The white is associated with air, while another realm is connected with fire, and a third with earth. Each of these elemental forces have their own parliament to watch over these ancient and powerful energies. When a planet is threatened, these elements may empower people to protect their world, much like how the green and the red do. This happened on Earth too, when the planet was threatened by the powerful new god known as Darkseid. Swamp Thing, in his career as an avatar of the green, has encountered other parliaments as well. The gray is connected to fungal life and emerged out of a planet that once harbored life in our solar system but since died out. Though it largely existed peacefully alongside the green, they were once a threat that the Swamp Thing had to pacify. Currently, the gray is represented by an avatar named Mickey, who has worked with the Swamp Thing when a new parliament and force emerged on Earth. This new force was known as the Metal, which represents technology and superheroes empowered directly by machinery and computers. Unlike other forces which are overlooked by parliaments, the Metal is watched over by something called the Rhythm, formerly also known as the Calculus. A sort of hive mind of artificial intelligence, they created their own avatar and began seeking out power for itself, forcing a conflict with the green. Though not destroyed, the Metal was defeated and placed in a small robotic dog, which was left to develop and grow until it was ready and mature enough to exist with the other forces of nature. There is the Divided, a non-sentient force that looks over bacteria and all other microscopic forms of life. The Divided is mindless, and most other forces of nature, save the green, have no idea it even exists. It was peaceful for many years, but got its first taste of war when mankind discovered antibiotics. Other parliaments are also thought to exist, including one composed entirely of human thought and ideas. The exact details of these other primordial forces, and presumably the parliaments associated with them, are as of now still unclear. Hello and welcome to Comic Island. My name is Arden, and this is my origins and bio for the Parliaments of DC. So this has been a video that I've been putting off for a little bit now because we've been focusing on doing origins and bios for Superman, but I wanted to get this done when Jeremy Renfro made it a prioritized request. It's a fun video that I've been meaning to talk about because it's a very cool and often overlooked aspect of DC canon. I love the idea of there being all these different parliaments basically accessible to writers as they need. Yeah, some of them kind of overlap and there's different domains that represent theoretically similar versions of life. And if anything, it kind of gets into how complicated the differences between certain forms of life really are. Like, is the Divided truly all that different than the red? How is the red that different from the blue? But that doesn't really matter in light of exploring these different domains that are attached to these different characters in fun and cool ways. I have to tell you, if there is one big thing that I took away from this video, it's that there's a big story sitting on here that really fits into some of the content that DC's been putting out over the last few years. When we think about stories like Blackest Night, Darkseid War, or Dark Knight's Metal, where we get these either new characters that are based around the Justice League or the Justice League going through transformations based on a recurring theme, such as in Blackest Night or Darkseid War, it's a really interesting idea, and it would be very cool to see something along those lines here. Which members of the Justice League would be associated with which parliament, and so forth. Obviously, there's characters like Beast Boy and Poison Ivy where that association is more obvious, but maybe we could get into characters like Batman being associated with the red, since, he's all about bats. Cyborg is obviously associated with the metal. Perhaps a character like Wonder Woman would associate with the green. I'm not sure which one Superman would maybe be associated with, but perhaps some of the characters could be possessed by different forces. And I could see someone like Barry Allen becoming empowered by the avatar of air or something like that. It's a fun idea to explore, and it's all basically right there on the surface. The whole point of that Earth 2 plot where all these elemental forces emerged was that Earth is in crisis. So all we need in the main canon is for Earth to get into crisis, and these forces will emerge. And maybe they would happily look at the most powerful heroes on Earth as solid candidates for avatars. It's a cool idea for a story that I think really should be done at some point if it hasn't already been planned or maybe does exist and I've forgotten about it. It's some sort of Justice League story along the way. But even if that's true, it would make for an awesome moment in any given crossover. In terms of a future rebirth event, I think that would be perfect. As for recommended reading, if you want to learn more about the Parliaments, well, you have a lot of options out there for you. The first thing I would recommend is Alan Moore's take on the Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing Volume 2 is very good, really engaging stuff that is definitely by far the deepest and most interesting aspects of Swamp Thing canon or stuff to do with the green and the gray. But there are a lot of other great comics out there if you've already read Alan Moore's stuff. Even stuff that's pretty recent, such as the Swamp Thing comics from the New 52 era that dealt with the Rot, I found really interesting, and it was cool bringing Animal Man and all the fun with Grant Morrison's original take. It's really a fun story. It's not nearly as deep as either Grant Morrison or Alan Moore's writing, but it is a fun little action-y, big epic superhero adventure that basically involves the entire Earth being devoured before our heroes are able to save the day. I like it. It's a fun story. I would definitely recommend it. It's called Rot World if you're interested. And that's about it. Let me know which Parliaments you're most interested in the comments section below. My personal favorite might be the red. It's just all weird and creepy, and the way that people empowered by it disfigure their bodies to become more like animals is a very cool visual. When we go to the red and it's all these limbs and weird things, it's just so interesting and cool. But all of them have very cool moments throughout history, and it's a neat explanation for Aquaman and his abilities. So the whole thing is great, just another lens that you can look through the DC universe with. Just like the Lanterns or the new gods, it's a very cool thing that could be applied to DC canon in a fun way. Let me know what you think of all that in the comments section below, and like I said, who your favorite Parliament or Avatar is, and special thanks to our patron Jeremy Renfro for pushing this topic along. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep reading comics.